All right, all right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. I just want to let you know that this meeting shouldn't run more than a half hour. Obviously, we understand that you have other commitments and classes and whatnot happening this evening, so we'll make it brief. I'd like to just introduce myself. My name is Matthew Nice, Finance, the Student Senate Finance Committee Chairperson. Colette.
Hi, I'm Irina Sin-Egby. I'm the Vice President of the Student Senate.
And then on the Zoom call is Jeff, but I guess he'll be on in a little bit. You want to get started?
We're gonna start off with the agenda. So basically what we're going over today. Just planning ahead mostly for club finances and programming for the most part, to make sure that you guys are using all the money you've been allocated. And also programming to make sure that your club is actively showcasing what you have for Stockton's student body, getting club updates, any new clubs, and answering questions that you guys might have about how all this works.
Cool. So as most of you know, you as e-board or presidents or vice presidents, you all have a budget. And so we're just going to basically talk a little bit about the budget. And then we're going to talk about how you can get more money from us from the supplemental request, through a supplemental request, rather to fund your activities and programming. So the basics of budgeting, the first point is to make a plan. In the beginning of the year, which you should have done in September, and this is a good time to start if you haven't already, but to make a plan of the programming that you'll do from now all the way through the spring semester, which includes events, your programming, any trips that you'll be planning, and then alongside of that, estimating your costs to effectively manage and the money that you've been allocated. Generating the cash flows is essentially fundraising. It's important that all clubs and organizations practice some sort of fundraising, because through your budget, the budget alone can't satisfy all of your needs most of the time, especially newer clubs that have only been allocated, say, $500 or so. It's hard to do a whole year's worth of programming on $500. So it's important that you learn how to fundraise and practice that accordingly. Cutting costs when necessary. This is important and something I've noticed in clubs and orgs that have been planning travels. It's important to cut costs when you can, because as we all know, prices have gone up. And it's making it harder and harder to sort of execute these plans and trips that you've got planned. Avoiding frivolous spending, that's an obvious one. And then keeping records is also important for student development, but that's sort of streamlined through Osprey Hub. And we'll get into that in a little bit. So in addition to the club budget, you have the opportunity to come to Student Senate and request additional funds through supplemental funding requests. Those are to be submitted through Osprey Hub, and is that it? I don't want to say that's about it, but like through the software, it's there. I'm sorry, I'm like really fumbling right here. Yeah, so through the software, you can submit a detailed request in any amount of money. If it's below $1,500, the committee and I, my finance committee, we could take care of that in just one simple meeting. If it is above $1,500, it'll have to go to a full Senate vote. So we'll have a meeting about it within the committee. The vice president here will approve it, and then we'll move forward to a full meeting in which it'll be voted upon from all 27 members. And we require 3 weeks notice on a Osprey Hub submission. It's hard to grant requests that come in 3 days before an event, because we have to not only vote on it, which takes time, but we also have to be able to move the funds around from account to account, which also takes time. This is the, yeah.
How many days it has to be said?
We asked 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
3 weeks. This number here is the value of the supplemental account as of today. This is the amount of money that myself and the rest of the Senate have to allocate to all of the clubs and organizations here on campus between the start of the year and the end of the year. So by the beginning of May, I hope to have that number under $10,000. And by doing that, we can allow all of you to run your programming, go on sponsor events, go on trips, all those great things that you do already. We want to make that possible for you to accomplish. And that's how you get it. So outside of your regular budget, we have this amount of money to allocate. And like I said, it's all done through Osprey Hub from a supplemental request. Any questions so far? Cool.
Okay, so programming. Your programming, this is just like a way to get your club out there. See if anyone who's interested in the topic of your club is interested in joining. So they should be mission based. It's basically going on what your club is about. So if it's new in club, it could be a retreat. High quality. You should make sure there's a reason behind your programming more than just hanging out with your group of people. It should be inclusive. So if any Stockton students would want to come, they would feel like they're allowed to come to your events. There's also co-sponsorship. So if you want to work with a club, that's another thing you could do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man. Co-sponsorship is a great way to put on like fantastic events. Usually events that are more costly it's co-sponsorship is a great idea. Senate co-sponsors a ton of events with a ton of different clubs on campus. So they use a part of their budget, we use a part of ours, and collectively we put on some really great programming. So that's just another way that you are able to cut costs, like I said, in budgeting. So keep that in mind. It's definitely encouraged that you do that. And so now I'm going to introduce Jeff Wakeman, who is the Director of Student Development, who is here with us on a Zoom call. And he's going to just go over what he's got to go over. Can you make this video?
Yeah. Hey, hi everyone. Sorry I'm zooming in, but when you get a cold in days of COVID, you have to stay home. So that's why I'm here. And Matt, whoever, will just need you to forward the slide for us, if you can. Thank you. Hey, over in student development, we are currently going through roster verification. We have to make sure that all the clubs and organizations are alive and well and following all the policies. So I just wanted to really briefly hit the policies and make sure everyone's aware. To be active, you need to have 10 members accepted on your roster. You need to have a faculty, staff, and staff advisor. That's a single person who is faculty and or staff. We need to have the officers and the advisors marked in their position on your roster. And I know many of the clubs have taken the easy way to get the roster started by doing the registration process. I believe the current registration process is all cleared in the queue, so everyone has been approved. So if you've never touched your Osprey Hub, you should probably start at the registration process. If you did a lot of things and you just need to maybe get a few more members, you don't have to worry about the registration process as long as all the information is correct. All right. If you don't know, if you're not in charge of your Osprey Hub, or everybody graduated and you're not on the roster and you need a way to figure out your roster, just please contact your StuDev advisor. Go ahead, Ford Nuxkin. Okay, so this is really hard to read, and I know it's a lot of words, but this is all the clubs right now that do not have 10 members. So if you see your club up there, you better work on your roster. I will be sending out a memo very soon, but I wanted to just keep continuing to give the chance for everyone to correct their roster before we had to put your name on the memo. So if you're on this list and you don't know why, it's probably because you don't have enough members. If you think you have enough members and you're on this list, please go back and check and make sure everyone has been accepted. Okay? And some people, it says you have 10 members, but then you have like several people who are your advisors on the roster. So it needs to be 10 student members. So that's the bar we're looking for. All right, go ahead and advance again. And I do want to quick mention advisors. There are not a lot of faculty and staff advisors in the system at the moment, and I really wanted to touch on this for all the clubs and orgs out there. There's two kinds of advisors. One is your faculty staff advisor. That is anyone at the university picked by the club or organization that is a full-time employee of the college. And literally anyone who doesn't work in my office counts as this. All right. They might be an expert on the subject matter, but they don't have to be. They should be someone who helps the officers plan, helps to add the educational components to the events. But like I said, they don't need to be an expert on the subject. They might be attending your events or meetings, or they might not. I mean, it's not a requirement. The requirement really is that they work on campus and they will work to support the club or organization. That's really the only thing they have to be. So you have to have an advisor for all of your on-campus trips if you're providing transportation, but it doesn't actually need to be your faculty staff advisor. We can, a lot of times someone from Res Life will go on the trip, or one of my grad assistants might go on the trip because your advisor is not available. Or you might take, a faculty member from your department who's not the specific advisor. I will also say that you can have as many faculty staff advisors as you wish. One of them should be a full-time employee of the college. This is a different person than the person who is your student development advisor. Your student development advisor is assigned by my office. They might not have any connection to the subject matter. I am the student development advisor for both the Republican and the Democrat club, and obviously I'm probably only one of those. But all of the student development advisors are experts in the campus programming, space reservation, and budget process. So that's really where you can lean on your StuDev advisor to make sure that everything goes smoothly when you're planning your events. All right. All of them have years of experiences with co-sponsorships and adding educational value and personal leadership. So if you're ever having any trouble in your club, please come in and talk to your student development advisor. I will also say that the student development advisor is the one who approves all of the expenditures and the events inside the Osprey Hub. So please make sure you're putting all of your events and expenditures into the Osprey Hub so that they can approve it. All right, go ahead. You can advance again. Thanks, yes. And they must approve all events and expenditures. That is the way it works. So you already heard Matthew mention that they need 3 weeks to approve a funding request. You also need 3 weeks at the minimum to approve any expenditure or any event. So if an event does not have any dollars, you still need 3 weeks to do it. If the event is using any kind of funding or it's a trip, you're probably going to need even more than 3 weeks. We're basically saying for most trips off campus, if it needs some funding, we're probably talking 6 weeks to get it approved. So if you're going for funding and you use Matthew's 3 weeks, and then you're going to an event that's pretty easy, then you need 3 weeks to get the event and the travel approved. So we're probably talking about 6 weeks if you need funding also. If you're just using your own budget and it's easy, 3 weeks could happen as long as it's not a travel. We've had to cancel events this semester and cancel some of the payments for some of the vendors that wanted to come to campus because we cannot get things approved and processed any faster than that. So 3 weeks is the bare minimum for the easiest events. Please come in, put in your paperwork in the Osprey Hub even earlier than that. All right, go ahead. Next slide. Thank you, Arians. Film showings. We've had a lot of film showings lately, and we had to deny a bunch of those. So whenever we're showing a film, if it's a commercial film, we're going to need a license. Anything that is, an art that is put together by an artist, those artists want to be paid. Someday you want to be paid for your work. So that's why we need licenses. You've all seen the FBI warning in front of a movie you're watching. That's what it basically says. If you're showing a movie in a public forum, which all of our classrooms are public forums and all of your club things are public events, you need to have a license. It's usually a couple $100. This includes all of the streaming networks. So whether it's on Hulu or Netflix or whatever, we still need to get a license for it. We used to be able to show a decent amount of Netflix originals. Netflix has kind of changed their internal processes and access list, so it's no longer as much of a free-for-all on Netflix, so please work with us. The good thing is that, if you need money, we already know that Matthew and the Finance Committee can get you some money, but we're also in charge of the film series in the Campus Center, so we can also co-sponsor your film if you're interested. And I know that the Black History Month and the Women's History Month and AAPI Month are all looking for sponsors for events. So if you have no budget and you have no access to budget, that's one of the places where you can co-sponsor and show a film. All right, go ahead, hit it again, Arlene. Thank you. Hey, cultural celebration months. I already brought it up. They are being planned for the spring. So if you're interested in getting involved with the Black History Month committee, that committee is going to start meeting soon. Please contact Diane Stalling in our office. If you want to do something for the Women's History Month, that's in March, obviously. Joe Thompson is going to be bringing that committee together soon. AAPI Month, Asian American Pacific Islander celebration. I believe they've already started meeting. I think Lauren Wilson is in the room. She could probably give a big thumbs up. I can't see, but yeah, she can. So yeah, that committee's probably already started meeting, and I know the senior send-off celebration. If you're a senior, a graduating senior, or graduating graduate student, and you want to help us put together those events, that committee is also forming now. I believe Joe Thompson just put out a message through the Osprey Hub to a bunch of the leaders. So look for that. If you want to be on any of those committees or help out, we would love to have your input. All right, go ahead, Irene. Thank you. And I always make sure we are constantly adding clubs and organizations at the in the student development office, and you're always coming up with new ideas. And I wanted to make sure that we had an opportunity to open up for any new clubs to kind of come down to the podium and introduce yourself. So I'll turn it over to Irene, who can look out in the audience and bring someone down if you see someone.
Are there any new clubs here?
Not one, Jeff.
There.
Not one. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I even if you started last semester or during COVID, people might not know you, so feel free to jump up. Hey, if not, we'll move to the question.
There's-
Oh, we got one? Come on up.
If you want.
You know, yeah, you can sit there.
It's the pre-vet club?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
We got you.
it's on still?
Yeah, it's on.
The pre-vet club is new. We started this semester.
Woo!
Welcome.
Hey, so my name is Carol. I'm the vice president of the Staff and Soil Judging Club. This is an environmental club.
Awesome. And you're like one of the newest clubs here. I think I just approved you last week, right?
Right here.
Hi, I'm Allison Salvini. I'm the president of the Methodology Organization. We started during COVID, so.
Cool. It's good, Jeff.
All right. Is that all? Is that everybody?
Yeah.
Awesome. The next slide is just the question. If you have questions, we are here in the ICC meeting to go ahead and answer. And then our contact information is there. So, Matthew, I'll turn it over to you to run the Q&A.
Thanks. If you'd like to take a photo of this screen right here, super helpful information. President, Vice President, myself, our contact information is here along with Jeff and Lauren Wilson, who is in the room today. Anybody have any questions? Sure.
I was just gonna say, so, sorry, Brian Case, treasurer of the club. I was just gonna say that,
when I go on like the financing, there's like two accounts, there's like the main one for like, then we get like the budget every year, and then there's another one that, I forget what it says, but it's like, yeah, revenue budget, I don't know what the deal with that is. Is that for like fundraising, because like I've literally never held a position, but it's not for a
Yeah, so each club and organization has two accounts on the OHUB, aside from just a handful. I know Seth has like 8 or 9 different accounts, but most clubs in Orange have two accounts. One is your annual budget account, and then the other is your revenue account. And your revenue account is all the money that you fundraise throughout the year goes into that account. And we encourage you, after you raise that money, to spend that money. We don't typically roll over. Jeff, the amount, it's like 10,000, right? Is he here?
He's muted.
Okay, he's muted.
I'm sorry, I'm unmuting. I pushed the wrong button. It was a bit echoey, so I didn't hear the question perfectly. Go ahead and ask your section.
I was asking about the revenue account and how we don't typically roll it over and we don't exceed 10,000.
No, it rolls over year to year. The fundraised money, the club budget does not roll over. The fundraised money does. But we would like it never to be over $10,000 because we're nonprofits and we shouldn't be hoarding that much money.
Right.
Yeah, I have two. So when you want to do, like, when you want to buy things that are kind of like, say, example, senior stalls, you can't use your student budget, right? You have to use your revenue budget.
You can use your account budget.
Or you can?
What?
Graduation stalls for the seniors.
Yeah, that's a gift, so all gifts have to come from revenue.
That's a.
Okay. Because I remember that from the first meeting, so okay, sure. And to submit like a and say like, I want a budget. I know they said like February, March, but we're on Osprey, how can you say like, I want to submit a budget for the next year?
Jeff, perhaps you can help me with this question as well. Lauren.
Yeah, I got that one. So it will be a form. So it'll be on the regular form section, and it's whenever Matthew and the committee want to open it. I mean, we could open it today if we wanted to. Well, not today. We could open it by next week if we wanted to. I just know that the committee's probably not ready to start talking about them until February, March.
So that will typically, we'll open that in, likely February. We're gonna start submitting that in January, February, look out for that. And then by end of April or middle of April will be the deadline for you to submit that document. And then we will have our committee, there's 5 of us, so each of us will take a group of clubs and orgs and meet with you individually to discuss the budget and go over it. And that's your opportunity to tell us if you need more, if you don't need as much, we'll increase it. That's your opportunity to request more money for the next year. Questions?
I just have a question about like if you work with these events, because I know I'm the treasurer and I was the only one informed about this event, so I was wondering if it was like for particular people, because I also know that other clubs, when I asked them about this event, they said they never heard of it and they never got any email.
So, the way you have to operate this is, like to send a mass email, and by mass, I mean like to specific people. We have to go into Osprey Hub and select those members, so we typically select the primary contacts, which could be the advisor, could be the president, the president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, pretty much the whole e-board. We try to get into that email. So you should have received an email from me yesterday.
Yeah, I'm the only one in the whole club receiving it, you know. Is there a way I can fix it so everyone gets emails?
You'll have to go into your club or org account and assign the name, like the roles to each person.
Yeah.
You've done that?
You have that done.
Okay. We'll talk after.
Okay.
Try to get that situated with Lauren.
So I'm the president of NJDA and we wanted to fundraise for teacher investments. So we wanted to go to stores like Target or Walmart and ask them if they want to make donations. So I emailed Jeff actually yesterday. I just have a question about the email that you sent back. You said to include a potential donor list, so would that include the stores that we want to go to, or just the name and the location?
Yep, that would work fine.
Okay.
Yeah, we just want to make sure, this is for everybody, I'll just answer. If you're sending out direct donation letters, we usually ask that you go to the event tab, add event, and then there's a checkbox where you can check that it's a fundraiser, and then basically upload whatever letter you're going to send to the businesses and a potential list of businesses. Basically, our fundraisers at the university want to make sure that you're not asking for $500, someone that they just asked $500,000 for. And so they'll just check the list and make sure there's no, I mean, if you stick to, locally owned businesses, you're going to be fine. They'll all get approved.
And then for that, is that 3 weeks as well?
Yeah, that'll probably go through a lot quicker because it's not really an event.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, if I read it, yeah, I don't know how long it's going to take the university fundraising people to get back to me. Usually it takes a couple of days. Hope that helps.
It does.
More questions?
Hi, I'm Vice President of Math Club, and we're looking to do an off-campus trip towards the end of November. Where do we go to find the price of shuttle, so we know what to budget before we submit it?
Jeff, you can help me with this question. Quoting shuttle companies.
Yeah, actually, that's best done by Renee Tolliver in the resource room. She can reach out to some of the bus companies. If you're looking for a campus shuttle, she can get those. She can do those requests. I will be perfectly honest with you. We have been getting a lot of not availables for the campus shuttles because they barely have enough drivers to cover the shuttles back and forth from Atlantic City and the around campus shuttles. So it might be best to call around to some of the local commercial bus operators if you're taking more than like 10 or 15 people. And Renee in the resource room can get you numbers for those vendors if you don't have any.
Okay, yeah, so like you said, private companies outside would be best. Make sure you shop around that place, and when you do shop around, ask for just a quote.
Okay.
Don't say you're looking for a shuttle, you need it, just say you're shopping around, because then they'll try to price it out you a little bit.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And Jeff, one more thing, are there specific vendors for transportation that they can use?
We have a vendor list, but if someone knew a vendor that wasn't on our list, that would be equally acceptable. We just have to get their insurance paperwork and some other things, but that wouldn't be hard.
Our club was just wondering, like last week, before we were running, how we would go about getting that. Like, is that something we should do on our own, getting like credit card payments, type of thing?
Matthew, you might need to repeat that. It was echoey. I couldn't hear it exactly.
The Prepay Club is looking to start their own Venmo. How do they go about doing that?
So we actually can't attach. So the accounts on campus actually can't get attached to a Venmo because they're not normal bank accounts. They don't have specific banking numbers. So what most clubs have done, and it's not the most fantastic process, I understand that, is use one of the leaders' Venmo and then just have the leader come in and make the deposit, either take out cash or write a check out of their own account.
Any more questions?
So our club has like, we're planning on doing like a once a month trip, but like the thing with our trips is they're not like to like a certain like organization or something, it's just like local, very close areas, like public land, like could be like in the woods, like, do I have to still get approval and like expenditure costs besides like the gas and if we're taking a transportation shuttle, or is that just for like long, complicated trips? Yes.
Give it a record mic so that everyone can hear.
Jeff wants this.
Go ahead, Lauren. You got it.
All right, so for the travel registration process, it's very important to make sure that we know all the costs involved with the trip. But it's also important that we know when student organizations are sponsoring trips off campus and bringing people off campus. So even if you're not spending any money, still complete that. It'll be a lot easier for you to complete because you don't have to worry about registration costs and hotel and trip, all that stuff. But it's most important that we know where you're going and who's going. So this way, if something were to happen, we have an emergency contact list to know who's off campus and who's on the store camp. So we're a new club and we don't have any money yet, so do we have to submit like how much money we spend on like get so if you're not funded, there's not really a way to track those expenses on Osprey Hub. But I would keep a record of that for your own sanity and your own organization, just so this way, when you are eligible to submit an annual budget request, you have an idea of how much things cost. you can still collaborate with other clubs, and so, maybe you can, partner with the Northern Science Club, or you can partner with SET, or you can partner with Senate, or another organization to kind of come together and have some funds to get some events off the ground. But it's still good to keep track of what you're planning for, so that when it comes time to submit an annual budget, you'll have all that ready to go.
So if you're doing a club and you're fundraising, but you don't have accounts and hospital numbers,
If you are, you should, or even if they're a new club one, they should have accounts, at least a regular account.
Yeah, so if you're just getting started and you're fundraising money, come to the Office of Student Development and we can, we'll create a new revenue account for you, but we can absolutely get that set up.
Yeah, usually if we see you do a fundraising form, we'll open the account for you. So that's another benefit of doing the forms.
Other questions?
I just had a question about showing movies. What if you already own the DVD? Like, do we still need to pay for a license? Or?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Seems like that's about it. I will be here to answer more questions if you think of any after this. But I just want to reiterate that, as finance committee chairperson, there's a lot of money to go around for everyone. And I would like for that $124,000 to go to zero. That's my ultimate goal, and in order to do that, you guys need to be programming, requesting, doing all of those good things around campus, what we do best. And we look forward to collaborating with you in the future and spending that money for the greater good of the community, if you will. So if you have any questions, please come down to me. I have cards right on the podium. Which has my number and my email. If you want to shoot me an email. If you have any questions about submitting a request on GoHub, you can email me as well, and I'll be happy to walk you through the steps personally. So please, thank you so much for coming. Please look forward to another event similar to this in the spring semester. We'll talk about the same thing. Thanks, guys, everyone. Thank you, guys. Thank you.